Yo. Okay, we are live. Man, I have another, man, it's such a privilege. I'm so glad that I'm doing these live. It's a blessing to be here. I have another awesome guest. Man, it's really cool. This one right here is going to be more for the realtors. However, I'm pretty sure, and I'll let Christian explain this one, but Christian is a financial strategist. He focuses mainly for realtors. However, this can still be a little bit broad. And man, I'm just super excited to learn more about him, have him give some game for you guys, drop some gems. Let's get right into it. Hold on. Let me take this I gotta take this little ticker off, y'all. I do apologize. 1 second. Let's dive straight into it. I'm adding him on right now, guys. My apologies. I'm gonna take some things away. Here we go. What's going on, Christian? How you doing, man?
What's going on? I'm good. How are you doing?
Man, bro, glad that you're here. Blessed to see another one and here to serve, man. I'm super excited. Thank you for your time. I need to take this do-rag off, but thank you for your time, for being here, man. Now, if you don't mind me asking you, we're gonna go straight into it. Who are you, right? And what do you do?
Yeah, for sure. So my name's Christian Tiessen. I'm out in Charlotte, North Carolina area, a little bit north of Charlotte. And I create financial strategies. So mainly what I'm focusing on right now is real estate agents because I was an agent before. I saw a need for this. That's most of my network. But really what we'll talk about today can be applied to anybody, especially people that are interested in investing in real estate. And have any of their favorite investments that they want to increase those rates of return, increase the flexibility, increase or decrease how much they pay in taxes to Uncle Sam. So yeah, man, I'm excited for today.
Oh man, let's get it. Let's go. Okay, now just warning you a little bit, Christian. So I may be challenging some of your beliefs, just to come from that side. We're in this thing called a trust recession. So it's like, oh, is he trying to sell? So I might be coming at you like that. So excuse that. All right. If I'm looking to the right or down, it's because I'm looking at screens, trying to make sure that I'm viewing everything. If there's anyone in the chat, I'll be popping it up across the actual live. All right, let's get into it. So my first question is I know you just talked about it, but what's your why behind this? I know you said that you were doing real estate. You worked what's your why behind this? What you do? Oh my gosh, doing what you do.
Yeah. So good question, man. It's really changed and evolved over the years. I'm a big believer in providing value for people, right? And I think that when you provide value, you get compensated well. So I know we're both fans of Myron Golden. Is that where we met in the Myron Challenge?
Yeah.
Okay. So like some people.
And then Laura Portier as well.
Yeah, there you go. So some people have a problem with making money, making good money. I don't at all, right? Like I believe when you provide good value to people, that you deserve to be compensated for that. And so, just being just straight up truthful is like, I want to provide a good life for my family, for my kids. I want to buy property so that my kid can grow up like I grew up, growing up outside, playing in the woods, having fun. And so that's a big part of it is I just want to do well. I want to see how many people's lives I can touch. I was impacted, when I was like 19, closer to 20 years old, very deeply by a man. We'll talk about that in a little bit maybe, but had a giant impact on my life, completely changed the direction of my life. So I want to be that person for some people. And I just want to help people out, man.
Actually, I love that, helping people out, stuff like that. Now, what is your background when it actually comes to, okay, what were you doing before you actually got into this industry? And what was that pivotal moment that was like, okay, this is it?
Yeah. So I'll give you my background a little bit. I got a job right out of high school at a great company. We were in the music industry. We were a manufacturer in the music industry. We made the electronics for acoustic instruments, so mostly guitars. And at that point in my life, man, I had discovered drinking and smoking weed and all that like late in high school, junior in high school. So my life was just a disaster, man. And I got to this point where I was just sick of it, right? And So I was at this job. I was a couple years in. One of the blessings that I had with this job was I was doing just like basic work, assembling electronics, right? So one of the cool things is we got to listen to headphones, right? Because we didn't have to like interact with the public and whatnot. And so I was at this point, man, where I was just like partying. I was always broke. Bank accounts were overdrawn like almost every pay period. I would start just like Myron says, right? Like payday for me was transfer day, because I already owed the bank money. I owed my rent. I owed my car payment, all of that, right? And I was just sick of it. So one day I was at my dad's house hanging out. And my neighbor's mowing, so sorry if there's noise in the background. But I was at my dad's, and I was sitting there watching some TV, laying on the couch, being a bum. And this infomercial came on the TV. And I started hearing these stories, like story after story of people that were like just like me. Same emotions, feeling depressed, feeling lost, feeling like they didn't have a direction in their life. And I just heard story after story after story. And then the tone shifted, and they started talking about how they discovered this man and he completely changed their life. And how they were talking about their businesses they started and how they're doing well. And I had this thought that shifted the direction of my life. I thought, if they could do it, so could I. Right. And that thought just changed. Like, I didn't realize it at the time, but it was a split in the path, and my life went in a different direction. Now, that infomercial was for Tony Robbins, and everybody knows banana hands, right? If you've seen Shallow How. But Tony Robbins wasn't actually the one that had the biggest impact on me. I found his mentor, Jim Rohn. Are you familiar with Jim Rohn? Have you ever heard of him?
Oh yeah.
So what happened, man, was, like I said, I could listen to headphones at my job. And this was right when YouTube was just starting. It was like 2008, 2009. And people were putting up all these Jim Rohn lectures, and they would put like this really like inspirational music behind it. You know, music's powerful, man. Like, you see movies and stuff, they can control your emotions through the music they put in those movies. And so these people would put these clips of these lectures, and that's all I listen. I stopped listening to music, man. And basically, like, literally, that's all I listened to all day for weeks and months and years at a time. And I just brainwashed myself with these success principles. And Jim Rohn had such an impact on my life. I ended up, my son's middle name is Rohn. So I ended up naming my son's middle name after him. And so like, one of the things I learned is just like how that got me started on personal development, right? So shortly after, I got a promotion, started doing sales with the company, started making more money. And I realized, like, very quickly that it wasn't the path that I was supposed to be on, right? It was a good path. It was a great company, great owners, super generous. All the coworkers were awesome. But it wasn't the path I was supposed to be on. And so it took me a long time to get out of that job. And it really ate at me, because I wanted to be self-employed. I wanted to test myself to embark on the hero's journey. You know, if you're familiar with Joseph Campbell's work, but I didn't have the courage to do it. And I knew that the reason I was on that path is because I didn't have the courage to bet on myself. And, you know, not to get all like too into politically incorrect stuff.
Do your thing, man. Do your thing.
As a man, that like ate at me, right? Like, like knowing every day I'd wake up every single day, because I worked 5 days a week. So I'd wake up on work days, going to a job that I knew I didn't like, but then weekends would be coming around. And I knew that, like, I had 2 days and I go back to this job, and I don't have the courage to do what I'm supposed to be doing. And eventually there were some things that happened in my life and in my relationship with my wife where there was a change that needed to happen. Right. So I don't know if we want to pause there, if you want me to keep going, but so that was kind of the start of how I got into this industry. And then things kind of started evolving after that.
Oh, wow. Hey, and first of all, thank you for even being transparent and sharing that, number one. Okay, yeah, we can move forward from there. That was pretty interesting to hear, because I think, as you know, when it comes to branding, I think it's very important to understand people's missions, right? As part of the brand, the core values and everything like that. So let's dive a little bit into this right here. I want to go ahead and see, is it cool that we, drop some gems and ask some questions like that? Okay, so now the closest thing I've ever worked with at a client is just into real estate investing. So I know a lot of it comes to financial. I'm not too familiar when it comes to actual real estate. But here's a question right here. All right, so a lot of realtors, and I actually have some friends, but a lot of realtors are closing deals, but they feel broke. So from your perspective, why do so many agents end up living commission, check to check?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think it has a lot to do with the industry. It has a lot to do with just financial literacy in general with people.
Really?
So when I got to that point where, so I'll just be, I'll just tell the story. My wife and I met my wife, and we were trying to have kids for like 2 years, right? We we're doing everything we could, doctors, medicine, all of that. And she ended up getting pregnant, but we had twins. We lost both the babies.
Oh,
And
man.
yeah, it was horrible, especially, when you're really trying, we really want to have kids. That situation was just like heartbreaking. But what that made me realize was that my job wasn't safe, like on like a soul level, right? But also I was making okay money, but I had golden handcuffs, right? Like they're paying me enough. I was comfortable, and that was keeping me stuck.
Golden
And what happened was we had this type of insurance where you had to pay cash up front, you get reimbursed, but it takes like 6-9 months, maybe a year to get reimbursed. And so she had to have emergency surgery, and we started getting these hospital bills like $60,000, $70,000, $80,000. And I realized, because I was like already pretty good with my finances at that point, I realized like, hey, like this job that I have is not safe. It's not safe at all. And so I started looking for other opportunities. At that time, I'd already been trading stocks. I was what's called a pattern day trader by the SEC. It basically means I was a glorified gambler. I was a short seller. So basically what I would do is I would bet on companies going down. I'd find companies that were pushing out fake hype. And then when the stock would run up, I would bet on it dropping, right? So that's how I'd make money. And so I decided one of the things, going back to kind of the motivation, my why was I had this desire for those 12 of those 14 years I was there. I had this desire to be an entrepreneur, to test myself. And so I came across real estate. I had a friend that did it, was very successful. And so real estate kind of fulfilled three things for me. The first was you could be your own boss. You work in that industry, right? Own your own business. The second was there's really good income potential. A lot of real estate agents make good money. A lot don't make any money, but a lot, if you're doing well, you can make good money. But then the third was I had read like Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I was a big Grant Cardone fan. So I saw real estate investing as this like incredible tool to build wealth. And so that's why I got into the industry. And when I got in, one of the things I noticed, man, is that the industry, all the training has to do with what I call the real estate side of the real estate business. So what I mean by that is like lead generation, marketing, your listings, negotiations, contracts, basically everything to do to earn more income. But they don't really teach any agents like what to do with that income, how to manage that income, how to build wealth with that income. And so what happens is like I had my last month in California before I moved to North Carolina. I made more in that 1 month or that like 30-day period than I had in an entire year at my job before. And so this happens a lot for agents is they have these like really big income swings, right? Like crazy big months and then dry spells. Cause you get so busy during those busy times when you got 4 or 5 deals going, you don't have time to prospect. You don't have time to line up the next deals. And real estate's like a cycle, right? It's not like you provide the service and get paid right away. It's like 30 days, 45 days, 60 days. And so that makes it tough for people to manage their money. When I was looking into and like developing this blueprint, one of the things I found was one of the reasons that makes gambling so addictive is the big wins randomly, right? There's like loss, and you get a big win every once in a while. And it actually messes with your brain, the dopamine. And I think that kind of triggers with agents too. Like you'll see this, agents, they close a bunch of deals and they're like vacation time or new car or luxuries, right? But they don't really realize how to manage or know how to manage the money. And so after I moved to North Carolina, I got introduced to the financial industry. And I knew pretty early on with real estate that it wasn't the path for me, just like my last job. It was a good vehicle if that's like your thing, but it wasn't my thing. Like I'm a numbers nerd, right? So I got a chance to move into the finance space. And so I decided to take that up and go ahead and do that. So I don't know if that answers your question.
No, it actually did. And one thing I got from there, you were pretty much delayed to pay, right? And then you were talking about dopamine. I didn't really perceive it to be like that, but it makes so much sense. Because what are the commission rates for?
Well, it depends. You know, there's no set commission in the industry, but usually like 3%. So I lived in a pretty expensive area. So, you know, I'd make $12,000, $14,000, $16,000 on a deal. And so like I had a month where I closed 3-4 deals and I made like $55,000 in a month.
Oh, nice. Because you
But then you
actually
have
you were
price
actually a
spells.
realtor, right?
What
Oh,
was
my
that?
apologies. My apologies. I was asking, you were actually a realtor, correct? As
Yeah,
well.
yeah. So I did
Okay,
that
just make
for almost 4 years before
sure.
jumping into the financial space. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. Holy smokes! And then you said so 1 month you closed 4 deals, made around 52 around thousand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. And so just to make sure I understand, so you saw the the delay to pay and then the big influx of change, and then it would be like another delay till you received another deal or something
Right.
like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Got it.
And so people have trouble managing that, right? Like you get this
Yes.
big reward for closing all these deals and it's like vacation time, like I said, car, luxuries, whatever it is. But then
Okay.
there's those dry spells where it's maybe a month, maybe 2 months, maybe 3 months before another deal comes through. And so
Mm,
it's tough to manage for people. On top of that, you have all this different stuff, right? Like real estate agents, I believe pay, I don't have the stats to back this up, but they pay a very high tax rate because, like, you know, as a self-employed person, you pay self-employment tax. But one of the big saving graces for businesses when you are paying taxes is your expenses. Well, real estate agents don't really have a ton of expenses in their business. And so a lot of their income gets taxed at that self-employment tax rate, but then also you get hit with the income rate. So, you know, I was paying like 30% of my taxes, which is freaking crazy. Um,
mhm.
and you don't get that when you're a W-2 employee, right? Like you get your check, you got your gross pay, they take all the taxes out, and then you got your net pay. So you don't have to worry about that. But this happens with a lot of agents is come tax time, they're like crazy. Like I got to close 2 more deals just to pay my tax bill, you know? So that was one thing I learned as well is like this tax problem is pretty big in the industry too. So.
Right. Now, if anyone is watching this live, you got any questions for Christian, feel free to drop that in here. This is literally like a conversation and everything.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'm glad that you went into taxes. So, so being a realtor and then now hopping into the finance space, what are the biggest, for lack of words, what are the biggest traps that you see, that you've experienced and that you see other realtors experience that has kept them in that cycle of check to check?
Yeah,
Closing
so
to closing.
just not being able to manage those swings in the income is huge for people. Um, Not being able to account for the slow periods. You know, recently, a couple of years ago, the interest rates went crazy, and so it went from easy deals, tons of money for agents that were producing to slowing down significantly. Right,
Mm,
so that's a big one. And kind of like we said earlier, it's just the general financial literacy. Like people don't know how to manage the money in general, not just real estate agents, but in general, people
really?
don't know how to manage their money very well. And so the question is like, how do I make this income spread out? What do I do with this check? Like as far as how much do I put into savings? How much do I put into investments? You know, most agents, if you talk to agents, probably 95% of them have some aspiration to be a real estate investor at some point. But the mainstream kind of financial advice that everybody gets is just put money in a 401k or a Roth or whatever and let it sit for 10 or 20 or 30 years. Don't touch the money, right? They tell you never touch that money. But if I want to be investing in real estate, like I need access to my capital, right? I can't just like
Right.
put it and let it sit away for a long time. On top of that, putting money in those vehicles that lock it away, people get scared of doing that because they never know like how the income cycle is going to be, right? And so what most people do is they just don't do anything. They might save that money for a little bit, but then kind of dwindles down. So it becomes a real problem, right? It becomes a big problem for many real estate agents.
I actually love the fact that you're talking about this. I was reading, or I think I was watching something about funnel building, because we build funnels and stuff like that. Because you use
Yep.
Go High Level as well, correct?
I do. Yep.
Okay,
Love
perfect.
it.
So we were talking about funnel building, and we were talking about the emotion of greed and why people hold on to money because of the fact that you don't know when the next pot is coming. So I'm glad that you touched on that. So what are some, Christian? What are some actionable, if you can share that? What are some actionable things that realtors, we'll stick with realtors, can do today? Boom. So let's say I'm a realtor. I got this deal, finally closed in maybe 60, 90 days. Who knows? Then I am. So boom, I get this, what, maybe $20,000 check, maybe some, or
Yeah.
15,000, excuse me. And then, so what should I consider? What are some practical, actionable tips that you recommend?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So the very first thing that started changing my life was understanding. It's funny, Myron talks about the difference between the poverty, the middle class, and the wealthy mindset, the purpose of money. And so, just to break it down for anybody that's never heard that, he said that the poverty mindset, the purpose of money is to pay your bills, right? And that's where I found myself for a big portion of my life before I discovered Jim Rohn and started putting these practices into place. Was like the money was just there to pay the bills, but it just gets drained all the time, right? And I was always just drowning financially. But then the middle class mindset says the primary purpose of money is to pay your bills on time so you can build good credit to buy things you can't afford. And I kind of added my little tweak to that. It's like if there's anything left over to put some aside, right, to build for the future. But again, once I started making a little bit more money, I had my head above water and I was doing okay financially. I was like saving, I'd save, but then something would come up, right? Big bill, or I'd make a stupid financial decision. I like to shoot guns and whatnot. So I'd buy like new guns and stuff like that. And like, so it wasn't until I discovered, before even knowing who Myron was, I discovered this wealthy mindset is that the primary purpose of money is to make more money. Right. And so what I would say is the very first step to do is to take a lesson out of, I don't know if you ever read this book. It's called The Richest Man in Babylon. It's
Oh,
incredible.
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is like the number, if anyone's like on their personal finance journey, this is the number one book I recommend to everybody. It's an incredible book. So the very first lesson, the first law of gold is to pay yourself first, right? Because most people, they'll pay Visa, they'll pay MasterCard, they'll pay their landlord, they'll pay their car payment, they'll pay everybody else first. And if there's anything left over, they'll save that, right? They'll pay themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So the very first thing that I tell people to do is to decide on a amount to put aside from your paycheck and pay yourself first out of every dollar that comes in, whether that's 5%, whether that's 10%, whatever it is. Decide on that number ahead of time and then put it away. When I started doing this, I'll just tell you how I did it exactly. Was I would actually go into the bank. Everybody's got this like automated stuff now, right? You like scan your check and it deposits. I would actually go into the bank and I would take out cash, 10% of my paycheck. And for a while, I was just like literally, like they say mattress money. I was literally putting it under my mattress. It got to a point where it's like, okay, you hit $1,000, you hit 5,000, you hit 10,000. And I was like, son of a bitch, I probably shouldn't have 10 grand in cash sitting under my mattress, right? So the next step is, once you start doing that, and you could do this right away, you don't have to do cash, is to set up a bank account at a separate bank than you normally use. And the reason we do this is to create a little bit of friction so that when it comes time to spend, when we want to make that purchase, there's just a little bit of friction to actually spending that money, right? So it's at a different bank that you don't keep a debit card on you, nothing. That way you put it over there and you kind of forget it and leave it. And, you got to build up that, what people will call an emergency savings. So that number kind of ranges for different people. Some people say 3 months, some people say 6 months. When you're in a business like real estate, probably needs to be closer to 6 months. But you need to have your living expenses set aside. That way, if you come across a slow period, you're not having to charge things on the credit card and start paying interest, because every dollar you pay in interest is gone from you for the rest of your life. It'll never work for you again. All right. That's profit to the credit card companies. And so that's the first thing I would say is learn how to pay yourself first. Now, some people will say like, oh, I live paycheck to paycheck, I can't pay myself first. But what you'll find when you start doing this, even if it's a small amount, is that very quickly you'll adjust, right? So like the example I give is, if people have W-2 job, you see your gross pay, right? And then there's like all the taxes, the Social Security, Medicare, and then there's your net pay. But people base their lifestyle off their net pay. They're not like, oh, my gross pay is like what I need, right? Because the government takes their money first because they don't trust you to pay your taxes. And so do the same thing with yourself. Pay yourself first, non-negotiable, put some aside and start building up that savings account so that you can get to the point where now we have enough money to start actually making it work for us. So that would be my first number one tip to get started.
Oh, okay. So I love that. So, okay, now I'm going to challenge some of your things. So what about for the people like, okay, yeah, pay yourself first. I get it. But I have this savings of whatever amount. So what's next after that?
Yeah. So it really depends, man. I have people approach me. They're like, hey, I've got 10 grand saved or I've got 5 grand saved. What should I do? And the reality is, man, at that point, this is going to go against like kind of the norm. I'm a big believer in investing in yourself first. Like, people don't get rich by investing in the market. They get rich by having a high income. And once they have enough excess income, then they can start diversifying into other things. So this is a really important thing. Myron talked about this too. He said, I love this quote. It really like resonated with me. He said, every answer you have deserves to be questioned if it's not getting the results you desire. Right. But the key there is that we have to know the right questions to ask. Right. And so what I've found is that like most people don't understand the right questions to ask. And so the best, in my opinion, the best thing, if you're scraping and skimping to save $5,000 or $10,000, the best thing to do first is to invest in yourself to get skills to start earning more money. Because there's like I'll give you an example. There's a saying, tell me if you've heard this saying before. The average millionaire has 7 streams of income, something like that, right? Have you ever heard people say that? Right. So people hear that and they think, okay, well, if a millionaire has 7 streams of income, that means I need to have 7 streams of income to become a millionaire. But that's not how it works. Really? Because what happens is you're seeing someone on top of the building or on top of their mountain, but you're not seeing all the steps they took to get there. Right. So these people didn't become millionaires by having 7 streams of income. They became millionaires by focusing on one thing, increasing their skills, increasing their competence to earn a high income. And then once they had excess money, right, they have excess to where maybe reinvesting into themselves, reinvesting into their business is getting diminishing returns. It's at that point that they start diversifying into other things, right? But you don't start by investing in all kinds of different areas, because the truth is, if I have 10 grand and I earn great returns, like let's say I get 20%, which is really good in the market on average. That's only $2,000 in a year. That's like less than $200 a month. But I can invest $10,000 into coaching and I might be able to make an extra 50 grand, 100 grand in a year from that 10 grand, right? Because of that coaching. So I think like when someone's just getting started, the best thing first is to increase that income. And then once you have extra money to play with, once you've got a great income, that's when you start looking at other ways to grow your money faster.
I love that, man. So pretty much like you just said, one of the biggest things I got, just invest into yourself. Yeah. Right. Okay. So I love that. Let me piggyback off of that. So, well, never mind. I was about to go a certain way because I was going to say, well, what about, but I think you would start going into verticals, right? Yeah. You go into your verticals. Okay. Because, yeah, that will correlate. Okay, so let me ask you this. So a lot of agents think, okay, cool, I just need to sell more homes, right?
Right.
Why is selling more homes not the solution if they want to fix their money strategy?
Yeah, that's another great question, man. You got great questions, man. So I'm talking to a client right now. He's making about $500,000 a year, and we had this discussion where we're kind of just laying out like how much he's spending every month. And he kind of laid everything out. I'm going to turn on my fan real quick. Give me just a second.
Yeah, do you think, man?
It's hot in my office. All right, we're good. So we're like laying out how much we're laying out how much he spends every month. And he's like, okay, I got like this on rent, this on my kids, this on food, this on, everything. And we talked about, he's like, okay, I made like $55,000 last month. And we kind of laid out all the expenses, and it worked out to be about like 20-something thousand bucks. And I was like, okay, so you just told me you made 55 grand. You only spent like $20,000 or whatever. Where'd that other $25,000 go? And he's like, I don't know. Right? Like,
wait a second. Hold on, Christian. I apologize. So he spent the whole 50?
Yeah, man. Yes, this is happening. Like, this isn't just like people making 100 grand or like 80 grand or 50 grand. This is happening for like agents all the way up to, 200, 300, 400, $500,000. So
What?
with that in mind, if you are in that position where you are making great money, but you still feel like you got nothing to show for it, you're not alone. This is very, very normal. And so what happens, like I told you about having another agent on, people get embarrassed talking about this stuff, right?
Yeah,
Because nobody wants to admit like, oh, I've got these financial issues going on.
you did
And
say that.
so
Yeah.
just know that like you're not alone. This is very normal. This is like everybody I talk to. Very, very
Wow.
common. So let me get back to your question about earning income. So what I told him is he came back and was like, he thought about it for a week and came back. He's like, I kind of wanted you to challenge me to like earn more money. Like if I want to live this lifestyle, I need to earn more money. And what I told him is like, dude, you could be earning $1 million a year, but if you don't fix these fundamental problems in your finances, the what I call the foundations, if you don't build a strong foundation, it doesn't matter if you're earning 100,000 a year or $1 million a year, because if you spend every single dollar that you make, you're not going to build anything. All you're doing is working for more liabilities. And it actually gets worse. Like the more people make, man, the more danger they put themselves into because they get used to this lifestyle. They get
Yeah.
used to this lifestyle of spending $20, $30, $40,000 a year. And then if it gets slow, like now they're in real trouble, right? Because they got the car payments, they got the crazy houses, they got the vacations, the lifestyle. The kids are used to doing all the summer camps and all of this. And so I'll never tell people not to earn more money. Like I'm like, earn more money, right? Make as much as you possibly can. But we have to have those foundations in place with our money to where we're actually doing something good with that money, building a future for ourselves rather than just dumping it all out the window every single month.
I see what you're saying. So if you don't mind sharing with me, what are some, and maybe you already said it, but what are some, I know you said putting a certain percentage. Boom. So
Mm-hmm.
is that pretty much the foundation right there? Is paying yourself first, and then
Yeah.
so okay, why is it all right? And I
It's
think
so
I don't know if I
basic.
was.
It's so
What's up?
basic, right? It's so
Yeah, I'm
basic.
like I don't get it.
People don't do it.
So
Everybody
why
wants
is
all
it
these
so?
tips and tricks.
Oh, okay. So why is that then?
We probably see you probably see the same stuff with just with our coaching and stuff, like with Laurel, right? With Laurel Porty, it's like the strategy is so basic, but people are like they think they're too advanced for the basics, and so they skip over the basics. They want to start doing cartwheels before they can even walk, right? And so people start skipping over the basics, thinking they're too good for them. But it's the basics, the fundamentals that really drive growth. And you see this in like everything, man. You look at professional sports. You see it's like the basics that win, right? Like I was a wrestler in high school.
Oh
Everybody wants
wow.
to get fancy, right? But it's like you look at like Olympic level, they're doing the basic stuff. It's not this crazy like there's a time and a place for that when it comes
Right.
up. But the majority, 90% of the time, it's just working those fundamentals, working those basics, and that's what's going to build something for you moving forward.
Holy smokes. Now, I don't know if this is possible. So maybe can you walk us through maybe okay, like your approach? How would you
Yeah.
approach, or since you love numbers, how would you calculate all this stuff for someone? Like can we do like a meta example, something
Yeah.
real world?
Yeah. So I'll kind of run you through the 3 phases of my program that we run people through. So I created the Real Estate Agents Wealth Blueprint, and it kind of has 2 premises behind it. First, that mainstream financial advice was not designed for people on commission incomes. It was really designed for people that have 9-to-5 jobs that get steady paychecks every 2 weeks, that have employers that contribute to their 401k, right? People that have health insurance and all of this. But that reality, the typical budgeting advice you get doesn't really work for someone with an commission income, especially the big swings that real estate has. So that's kind of the first premise. The second is that most agents want to invest in real estate. Most agents see real estate investing as one of the best ways to build wealth. And I would agree with that, right? One of the best, if not the best ways, for a number of reasons. So what we do is we have 3 phases. The first is foundations. It's just getting these mindsets right, the pay yourself first, understanding the real purpose of money, understanding how to manage your finances, how to set goals properly as an agent as far as financial goals go. So that's foundations. Once someone's got a good foundation in place, a good structure, Then we start the construction phase. So this is where we start building out the financial tools, the vehicles that allow their money to grow at a great rate, protects their money, and helps optimize their taxes. But the third, and I would say almost maybe the most important part of that, is the flexibility. We have to have the flexibility with the capital, because we want to always be able to take advantage of the best opportunities when they come up, right? So like if my money is tied up for 10, 20, 30 years and I can't touch it, it doesn't really do me good if I want to invest in real estate, but I can't touch that money. So I have this happened to me in my life, is like, I had that job before. I was doing what everybody told me to do, right? The 401k, built up a good chunk of money in there. And when I went to buy my first investment property, it was like, I wanted to use that money from my investment, from my retirement, to purchase this property. Now, I know there's ways to get around this, but I didn't realize this at the time. So I paid like 35% tax on that money. I'd been saving this for like 14 years, and I lost almost over a third of that money just to taxes, because I wanted to use it for real estate. And this really pissed me off, because I wasn't using it to like go on vacation or buy a boat or something like that, right? Like I was trying to move it into a new investment, but that money's locked up, right? So the flexibility is super important, because opportunities are always changing, right? Like right now, It might be real estate, it might be precious metals, it might be crypto, it might be whatever it is. And so having that flexibility to move into whatever it is very important. So that's phase 2, is the financial tools. And maybe we can talk about those a little bit more in depth. But then phase 3 is portfolio. So this is actually shifting into real estate investing. I don't coach people on real estate investing, but what I'm doing, I'm in the process of, and I've built a pretty good network already, is I have different people I can connect people with. So for example, I know a guy that does mobile home parks, right? So completely passive. You put in money, you give them 50 grand or whatever, and they do it, they manage it, they send out the checks, they do everything. I know someone that buys like giant apartment complexes, Grant Cardone style, right? So they want to be fully passive. Like there's that. I know people that are very successful doing like fix and flips. So again, if someone's like, they want to get their hands dirty, they want to take that avenue, I can connect them with that person to teach them how to do that. Really? I know someone that does syndications where it's as little as $5,000 to put your money in, and then you become a hard money lender for other people doing real estate deals. So you're kind of indirectly involved in investing in real estate. So those are the 3 phases: foundations, construction, portfolio, that we walk people through to start using their money in real estate to start building real wealth.
Oh man, that's actually really cool. And that's not limited to just realtors, is it? Like you also have other people as well? Oh wow.
No, and it's funny you say that, because like this strategy works really well for anybody. It's just because I was a real estate agent before, I know the language. Like we're both marketing people. You got to know your target market, you got to know their pains, their struggles. So because I have like a deep knowledge of that, my messaging is focused towards agents specifically, but it works for anybody.
Yeah, that's really cool. Okay, so it's not, so let's say anyone wants to work with you, will you turn them down and just stick with that? Okay, cool. That's actually really cool, man, that you do that. That is really awesome. What is what do you think? We're gonna do like a positive and negative one. What is the best success story you have had with your framework?
So I had a client that so when I first got into the financial stuff, I was kind of working with anybody, right? And then I decided to really shift into working with business owners specifically, but I found it was very difficult, again, going back to marketing, getting my messaging tight on that, because you work with a real estate agent, for example, is a very different financial conversation than someone that owns, like I have a buddy that owns a female clothing retail store, right? Very different conversation, like inventory, profit margins, all of that. And so I was having some struggles with that before. I was just kind of like, well, let me just work with agents. Like, why am I trying to mess with all these other people? So I would say my best financial like success story was actually before I started working with agents specifically. Really? Was a client I had that, he was an architect in his life before he retired. So he went through the whole 2008, 2009. It's a very successful business, basically lost the business. So his main concern was protecting his money, making sure he had security with his money. So we put him into a financial vehicle that guarantees income for him for the rest of his life. And so we put his money there. It's growing. Like, there's some crazy products out there, man. He got like a crazy bonus on the money he put in, guaranteed growth for 10 years, and then guaranteed income for the rest of his life. And so it's honestly, man, it's just a matter of having a conversation with people. And you know this from your work. It's a matter of having a conversation with people and trying to figure out what their goals are. And, you asked about like, if I work with everybody, there are some specific requirements, like probably need to be working with someone that's making about 100,000 a year or more. For the advanced tax strategies, we need to be up at like 300,000 a year, because we can get rid of income tax at 300 grand a year. But I would say that's my biggest one, is having that client, like, as far as like internally, having the client that really wanted that security and be able to deliver that security with the money that he had, so that he never has to worry about ever running out of money in his entire life. And I would say that's a big one.
Congratulations on that achievement.
Yeah,
now, I got to flip it on you, Christian. So what is the biggest mistake you've made, let's say, in that industry, and how did you overcome that?
In the industry, or just personally, financially?
Let's entertain both. Why not?
All right. So I'll tell you two big personal mistakes I made. Maybe it can save your audience tens of thousands of dollars. One of my big mistakes was, especially early on, I still am risk adverse. So I had way too much money just sitting in bank accounts, right? Earning next to nothing. Like, I had like 3 years of my salary just sitting in a bank account. And that's just losing money, right? Because of inflation and whatnot, like not doing nothing for me. And so it's not just a straight loss, it's what that money could do. It's called opportunity cost, right? So like, if that money was invested properly, what could that have grown into? And I missed out on that growth potential. Another big mistake, this has nothing to do with what I do, but this cost me 30,000 ish probably, was my wife and I paid off her car, and we wanted to save like $50 a month on car insurance. And so when you have a paid off car, at least in California, I don't know if it's how this is where you're at, but you don't have to have full coverage insurance anymore. So we did liability only insurance. Well, like a month later, she crashed the car. And so our car, we probably would have got like a $15,000 check for it. We got like $700 because we had to sell it to a scrapyard, all because we were trying to save $50 a month on insurance. We ended up losing out all that money, right? So not only did we lose that, we would have got paid out with the insurance, but now I put 20 grand down on my new car, right? So it was like 15,000, 12,000 plus the 20,000 I had to put into a new car. And so, I mean, that mistake right there cost me anywhere from, $20,000 to $35,000, depending on how we look at it.
Oh man, that's so interesting. Okay, so what about I don't know if this is appropriate, but what about in your professional life when it comes to the finances? Is there like a big mistake that you made, and how did you overcome that?
I haven't made any big mistakes with clients. Thank God. I have E&O insurance for that. Yeah, I wouldn't say any with like what I'm doing currently. I haven't had any mistakes. I'm relatively new at this specific thing that I'm doing. I mentioned that I was trading stocks before. So I made some mistakes there for sure. I was a short seller. Short selling is very dangerous. It's very risky. And so you can make a lot of money real quick, but you can lose a lot of money real quick. So I lost a lot of money real quick a few times, short selling stocks. And so that was a big mistake for me, was especially when you're trading stocks, fast moving stocks, the emotions can set in real quick, right? It's real hard to watch your account dropping, especially when you put in big chunks of money. And so, selling when I should have held, that sort of thing, or buying when I shouldn't have. You get FOMO, fear of missing out on those big runners. Yep. So those would be some mistakes I made for sure.
That's not bad. And you still trade stocks as well, huh?
Yeah, so I don't day trade anymore. I do more what's called swing trades. So what I was doing before was I would sometimes be in and out of a stock in like 2-3 minutes. And so basically what I was trading is I was trading what's called penny stocks. So different people have different definitions for penny stocks. I would categorize a penny stock more by the characteristics of how it moves. So typically that's anything like under $10, right?
Oh, okay.
And so, yeah, I was trading those, and you'd be in and out. You know, most I would hold those is like a couple days, but now what I'm more into is what's called swing trades. So that's anywhere from like a week to maybe a few months that you're holding the stock. The downside to those, for anybody that's doing this, and this is something I learned from experience, was you pay short-term capital gains tax on those, which is your income tax level. If you hold the stock for more than a year, you're going to pay long-term cap gains tax. But if you hold it for less than a year, you're paying short-term, which is a very big difference in the tax you pay.
Man, look, hey, y'all got to get with Christian, man. He knows the numbers. There's another guy I'm connected with on here. He does live trading every day. I'll have to connect you with him, and we got a group. I don't know if there's something you're interested in, but he does it live every day, man. So you didn't. This is kind of outside of everything, but so you didn't do options, or you didn't trade options?
No. So the tools that we use now utilize options. I wasn't familiar with them until I got into what I'm doing now. I'd heard of them, but I wasn't like deeply familiar with them. But options are incredible, man. It's a really cool tool. So, I mean, since you asked about it, I'll just kind of dive into this a little bit. The tools that we use are called structured products, and structured products basically combine options with a fixed sort of asset. So, for example, like you've heard of like a CD at a bank, right? Certificate of deposit. You heard of those before? So basically the cool thing about CDs, a lot of wealthy people use them because they give you a guaranteed interest over a period of time. So let's call it a year, but it's very low. So let's say it's like 5%, right? So what structured products do is they say, hey, you've got this CD that let's call it 100 grand. That's going to pay you 5% in a year. It's $5,000, right? Instead of you getting that $5,000, what we're going to do is we're going to take that 5,000 and buy options contracts with it. And the benefit there is if the option pays off, they execute on the contract and you make that difference. But if the option doesn't pay off, then your principal is protected because all you're using is the money you would have earned, not your actual money. And so this is what structured products do, is they allow you to participate in the market. You get the gains of the market, but you don't lose when the market goes down. And there's all kinds of different types of structured products. We like most of the clients, when we start talking about taxes and minimizing taxes, there's, believe it or not, insurance products allow for tax-free growth and distributions on the money. So most people go with the insurance-based products for those structured products.
Oh, wow, man. Thank you for sharing all this that you're talking about right now. I'm doing my best to keep up, but I'm trying to make sure that I have some
yeah, you're good.
My current beliefs is making sure that people have things that they can take, so we can bridge this trust gap. And I just love how everything you're saying is something that's actionable, or maybe stirring up some type of creativity, like, okay, well, I can probably do this, I can do this. So what would you say to let's see. Okay, so what is one belief that every realtor needs to let go of to have that lasting wealth?
Yeah, good question. So I would say, can I give you a couple?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, but this is a conversation. Cool. I'm just following my little list. I'm just trying to bounce off what you're giving me.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first one is that just closing more deals is going to solve the problem, right? We've got to get those foundations in place. Like I said, I talk to agents all the time earning. I talked to a guy, he called me from my YouTube channel. I used to do YouTube when I was doing real estate. So really? I still get calls from that. And he was like, I told him what I'm doing now. And he's like, Christian, I know exactly what you're talking about. He said, I live in the second most expensive zip code in the United States. He lives down like the LA area. And he said, I've made millions and millions of dollars over my career, but I have very little to show for it. And he said, it's because nobody ever taught me these things, the foundations, the fundamentals, financial literacy. Right. So and then he said, this was the crazy part. He said, the worst part about this is that I get goosebumps thinking about it. He said, because I never learned these things, my children were never taught these things either. Right. So this stuff, like understanding financial literacy, has generational effects. And I know some of your other guests have talked about that too. It's like, it's not just one, unless somebody decides to make a change, it can have generational ripples, either good or bad, right? So
Right.
we have to really understand, like, what are we passing along to our kids and to the next generation? And so I would say that's the big one, is realizing that, like, just earning more income without the foundations behind it is not going to get you ahead. It's just going to improve your lifestyle. It's going to, yeah, life's going to be better most of the time, but you gotta have these foundations. You got to pay yourself first. You got to start building something for the future. The next thing I would say is that what I found is most agents do not treat their real estate business as a business.
Okay.
Meaning they almost are like commissioned salespeople that just pay their own expenses. And so they're basically stuck in the grind of like working in the business instead of working on the business, which is fine. You know, some people want to do that, but they don't put in place the structures. They don't think like a CEO would think of a business to actually grow the business beyond them just like being in it, grinding every day, getting leads, doing the contracts themselves, closing deals. And that keeps them stuck. Now, the good thing about real estate is you're not out digging ditches, right? So it's like, it's not hard on your body. You could do real estate till you fall over. But but still, like, you don't want to be stuck in that grind for your whole life.
Right. Was that everything right there?
Yeah. We'll keep on going.
Okay. Yeah, 'cause I'm just typing this in. Man, this is really good. So really, yes, I do agree. So I'm not a person that's in it, but it's pretty much. Would you say it's similar to? Cause I sold cars for like a good month. It's kind of the same thing in a way. Like you
In
still
what
doing
way?
your lead gen. Well,
Yeah.
still doing your lead gen, still doing your follow up, still doing your
Yeah.
cold outreach. So it's really the same system then, huh?
Yeah. And you know, like you just said, lead gen, follow up, trying to get referrals, just trying to get the next deal in the pipeline, right? Like, that's kind of the grind of the business. And there's ways to get out of the grind. You know, some agents will build a team where they start leveraging other people. You know, Myron talks about this, moving up into
Yep.
the management level of value. But typically that's where most people stay. And again, one of the nice
Really?
things about the business is you have the ability to earn a great income. It's just like, what do you do with that? And, you know, I think, like I said, most agents do want to invest in real estate, but the vast majority don't. And here's the other thing I didn't mention that I will, with regards to like mainstream financial advice
Okay.
versus what I'm doing, is it's not just that the locking up the money, the like consistent putting money in, like I had a paycheck, it is kind of a mismatch for agents. There's also another very important factor, is that if you're an agent that believes that real estate is a great tool for building wealth, one of the reasons why I got into the business was because I had that belief. And my understanding was like, hey, if I get into this business, I get to learn real estate at a very deep level. And so agents are like always, they're in the MLS looking at deals. They're working with buyers and sellers and investors. They've built all these networks of contractors and loan officers and hard money lenders. And so if they believe that real estate's this great tool, the other important thing to understand is that as an agent, you have this incredible advantage over all the other people because you're so intricate. I can't say that word right now. You have a deep understanding of the business, right? Of the
Yeah.
real estate investing. And so I think that gives them even more of an advantage with actually investing in real estate, and would stack up points in favor of using that route as opposed to like other routes of building wealth.
I see what you're saying. Holy smokes. And thank you for actually taking the time to break in some of this down for me, because it helped me expand. Oh, okay, cool. I can approach, ask you these questions on these different levels. And so what I just got from that is you're saying because they start out as an agent and they got to explore contracting, then you kind of know you can go this route, this route. Is that what you kind of were saying?
Yeah. I mean, it's he actually talks about a similar concept in The Richest Man in Babylon. Is he talks about like someone who invested their money with a guy, I forget what he was buying, like tiles or something like that.
I think,
But
yeah,
the
it was
guy,
like a shop or something. Yeah.
but he knew nothing about the business, right? So he didn't know the right
Yep.
questions to ask. He didn't know any of this. And the guy ended up losing
Right.
all his money because I think he bought like fake goods or something like that, right? And
Yeah.
so like, for example, let's just go back to like you said, you sold cars for a little bit. Like if you have a deep knowledge of cars, then it might make sense to focus your business on what you know, right? Focus your investments on what you know, as opposed to being like, hey, I know a bunch about cars, but I'm going to go and invest in boats or in watches that I know nothing about. And so like as an agent, they like know, the neighborhoods, what neighborhoods are up and coming. You're always in the MLS is like where they list all the houses, right? You're always in the MLS looking at houses, looking at properties. You see them first when they come up. And then again, you're working with buyers, sellers, investors. Many agents, if you've worked with an investor, that might be someone that you can partner with and do like a JV deal with, where maybe you give them some money and they're like, hey, I'll hold your hand through this process if you have a good relationship with them, right? So you have this kind of inside track with this great tool of real estate. And so like my thinking is, why not use that to your advantage instead of just like letting everybody else use it? And then you trying to like put your money over here and grow somewhere you know nothing about.
I got what you're saying. I think it goes back to what we said earlier. I'm just, is it verticals or horizontal? I think it's your verticals. I think that's where it's at. But pretty much invest in the things that you're pretty familiar with, which makes a lot of sense, because I do see what you're saying. Some people invest into something that they're not, that they're green in. Is like, I guess I'll go into here. Or how do you feel about investing into maybe passions, right?
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
I think, man, whatever you're willing to put time into to learn, it is good. Do you mean like investing in businesses that are your passions, or what do you mean by that?
So I kind of left it broad like that, but like, some people, it kind of goes back into what you're saying. So some people, instead of scaling or going up with their verticals, they're like, okay, well, a family member might, hey, invest into my thing. It kind of plays on
Yeah.
that. So invest into a restaurant or something like that. I'm not too sure how other people would do it, but that's why I wanted to know your thoughts on that. Is that something that, let's say, you would recommend when it comes to your method? Or do you
So
strictly do
the cool thing about what we do is we put the money in the tools that grow at a great rate. They grow linked to the market, but they're flexible. So you have access to the money and you get to use other people's money. So you use your assets as collateral to borrow against. And so this is what like really rich people do, is they use their assets as collateral to take loans. And so my thing is like, you can invest in whatever you want. When like people have approached me and be like, hey, my guy's getting me 15% right now in the market. Can you beat that? And going back to asking the right questions is like, that's the wrong question to ask, because I don't have to beat it, because what we're doing is leverageable. Like you could put your money here with me. It's growing at a great rate. We can borrow against it and you can put it into whatever you want. That could be real estate. That could be crypto. That could be your brother wants to open a business. You can be an angel investor or a silent partner in that. So I don't have to beat it, because our strategy doesn't compete with other strategies. It complements other strategies. You get to use that money wherever you see best fit. You can even use it to, like, let's say your family member wants to buy a car. They could pay the interest and they can pay that car note to Honda or to Toyota or Mercedes or whatever. Or it's like, hey, I got 70 grand sitting here. Let me loan you the money and you pay me that interest instead. And you could become a private money lender for all I care, right? It's whatever you want to use the money for. That's what's really cool about it, is you don't have to qualify for it. You don't have to do the debt to income ratio like you do with a normal loan or the credit scores. It's like that's your asset that you get to borrow against. And the idea here is this, it's very simple, is that you may have heard Myron talk about this. If your money is earning more than it costs to borrow, then it makes sense to borrow against it. So let me give you an example. If my money is earning 10%, but it costs me 5% to borrow it, I'm still making that 5% spread, right? But if it's only making me 5%, it costs me 10% to borrow. Well, then it doesn't make sense to borrow against it, right? So it's all just a matter of looking at the math on it. But that's one of the cool things about it, is like, going back to your original question, is like, yeah, man, you can, if your brother-in-law, your brother wants to start a restaurant or wants to start this business or that, and you got that money, you can use it for whatever you want. And yeah, I like the passion stuff. And the reason I like it is because you're more likely to be in tune with that, right? Like if it's something you're not into, you're not going to like look at it. You're not going to study the numbers on it. But if it's something that you like, you're much more likely to be like well studied on that and probably make a better investment choice overall.
Right. And I like what you're saying, because the only reason why I ask that is because sometimes, I'm not too sure if this is something you've experienced, but there could be resistance to certain, I guess, opportunities.
Yeah.
And so has there been any resistance when, is this something where you do more of a proposal to before someone takes action on any of your frameworks or your blueprint?
Yeah. So we do like discovery calls. So the first thing we do is just kind of figure out where we're at, where we're trying to go, and then we figure out what we want to do with it. So we build it all around whatever the client's not only comfortable with, but what's realistic. Because just like I mentioned the guy earlier that's making 50 grand a month, and then if he was like, yeah, my expenses are only $20,000 a month or whatever. I'm just going to use this as an example. I'm making 50, my expenses are 20. So that means I have 30 that I could put with you. Well, when we really start diving into the numbers, like, well, your bank account doesn't show that you're saving 30. So like some people might be like, yeah, let's set this up. Let's get it going. We're going to set it up to take in 30 a month, whatever. But that's going to get them in trouble. Right. So it's all about what we call discovery. It's figuring out where they are, where they really are, where they want to go, and then bridging that gap for them.
Got it. And that's where I believe you were talking about why you have a method of so many different financial vehicles, right? So they have different opportunities. So it sounds like to me, and I love what you mentioned flexibility, right? So pretty much you created an opportunity for agents, right, to have flexibility, like you said, with their money, with different vehicles. And then so I love you. Okay, perfect. I was just trying to make sure I got it. So you got your 3 different stages. You're working with your these agents. Is it personable, or how does that work too? Is it like one-on-one, like I'm walking with you?
Yeah. So we do one-on-one calls, just on like Zoom. That's like the discovery process that we do the plan design, and then we make any tweaks, and then we implement the plan after that. And then it depends, man. It really depends on where someone's at. I kind of mentioned earlier some of the tax strategies. So I have a team that I work with as well. We've got a lot of people on staff. We kind of cover, there's 5 areas of wealth management. There's income, there's asset management, there's risk management, there's credit management, tax management, and then legacy. So there's 6. So we have people that work in all those areas. And the nice thing about that is most people will have some of those areas kind of covered, but they all work independent of each other. And so it's like they're not talking to each other and working together. So the cool thing about what we do, and this is for, I would say, higher net worth individuals, is we bring all those kind of individual areas into one house so that they can all work together to make the most efficient plan. And so, for example, we have tax strategists that have all kinds of crazy tax strategies we can do, but they cost money, right? Anything's going to cost money, tax strategy. So the question is always, does it save you more than it costs you? I'll give you an example. Like one thing that's really popular, people have probably seen on YouTube, is there's a tax code called Section 179, where it's basically if you buy a certain size vehicle, it's 100% deduction, right? So people are like, oh, well, I need to go buy this car by the end of the year. That way I can deduct it off my taxes. Well, does it make sense to buy a $100,000 car so you can save $30,000 on taxes? Probably not, right? Because you're still like 70 grand in the hole. If you had to buy a car anyways, well then, yeah, we look at that. But it doesn't make sense to spend 100 to save 30, right? That's stepping over dollars. And so we always look at the tax strategies that will pay the clients more than they're going to get charged in the tax strategies.
Oh, okay.
And so that's kind of outside of my lane. That's where I bring in my partners, because the tax code's giant, right? And so nobody's an expert on everything with taxes. So you have people that are like compartmentalized in the tax code that have different strategies, and we get them all to kind of work together to save people taxes. Oh yeah.
Oh man, first of all, I didn't know that your blueprint gets that deep, and I think that's really cool that you do have those different angles when it comes to finances just in general. And congratulations even having something like that. That's actually really crazy, man. And you said you were kind of, just correct me, please correct me, like fairly new as far as with the, what did you mean when you said you were fairly new with it?
Yeah.
That's
So,
pretty
so
insane.
I shifted out of real estate like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So pretty new in like the financial space. But I've been really into like you talk about passions, like like kind of weird. Like I like economics, I like markets. So like I said, when I've mentioned that I was a stock trader, I started trading stocks like a lot, probably 2014, I think. So I've been trading
Oh,
stocks
wow.
for over a decade. So I've been kind of
Mhm.
studying this stuff for a long time. My first YouTube series ever was finance for kids, how to teach your kids how to be financially literate. That was before I even got into
Really?
real estate. And so, yeah, I've been like kind of into this space for a long time. And when that opportunity to shift into it professionally came up, that's why I jumped on that, because I knew real estate wasn't like the end path for me. But this really aligned with, speaking about passion, this really aligned with like what I'm more passionate about is numbers and spreadsheets and all that nerdy,
I could
all the
tell,
nerdy.
man, you over there glowing when you was talking about it, Chris. Like, oh
Yeah,
man, this
yeah.
is really what he. Okay, that's really dope. So, okay, now what would you say to someone? And we just wrap up here in a little bit. Let me see. I know you said we could probably talk a little bit about marketing stuff since you like talking about that.
I
But
love
okay,
it.
so
Yeah.
what would you say? Well, why not? Let's just dive into it to make this a little bit more valuable. So, okay, a real estate agent, maybe that's been 2 years into it, not seeing too many deals. What would you recommend so they can increase their, I guess I would just say their earning potential? How can they get, more deals to close? I think that's it. I'm
Yeah.
not too
Yeah.
sure how it goes.
Yeah, for sure, man. So this is cool because are you a fan of Hormozy, Alex Hormozy?
Oh yeah, man, he's cool
Yeah, yeah.
too.
Okay. So what I like about what he's doing is he's got these books, right? And his whole concept is like he's not really making money off the books. Although I don't know if you saw his last launch. That dude made like $240 million in like 2 days.
240? Really?
Well, here's the thing. He sold 3 million books at $30 a pop. So that's 90 million right there. But he also sold 25,000 $6,000 packages, which is another 150 million.
Oh, that he sold 25,000 of those?
He said he put 25,000 together. I don't know if he sold them all, but I would imagine he probably did.
Oh,
So
that's insane. Wow.
that's like 240. So anyways, I digress. I like business and like marketing stuff too, so I'll nerd
Yeah,
out
because
on
that
that.
offer was what, 6K for the 200 books or something?
Yeah, yeah. One
Mhm.
of my buddies actually got it. He texted me. He was like, "Hey, you want one of the books?" Hell yeah! All right.
Send
So
it
I
here,
got one.
send it my way.
Yeah, I got one coming my way. So, um,
Nice.
so I say that to say this is that this is cool because if I can help people earn more income, then they're more likely to work with me, right? Because then they're like, what do I do with this income? So let me break down 2 strategies if that's cool with you. We
Oh,
got time for
bro,
that?
hey, this is about you. I'm just trying to keep up. I can
All
keep up with
right,
you
man.
now. I was just like,
All right. So here's what I would say. I'm a huge fan of YouTube, especially for really any local businesses. For real estate agents, it's incredible. And man, I've been
oh, really?
preaching this since before I started being an agent. When I became an agent, this was like the first strategy I went hard on. So you got to be on YouTube. You got to be on YouTube. And the trick is to understand the type of content and the audience that you're putting out. So I'm going to be speaking your language here a lot. What most agents do is they'll put out what I would call like authority content. So like market updates, the buyer, the seller process. But you have to understand that that's all super boring, right? You're not going to get eyes on your channel from that stuff because there's a million of those videos. However, it's still important, right? Because you need to show that you're an expert. And so what I did was I had a strategy. I call it the GAP framework. So G is for growth. A is for authority, P is for personalized. And it's kind of ties into the know, like, and trust, right? So the know is the growth. And so what I did with my YouTube channel was I would do local content, like 5 things to do in X town, or 5 reasons to move here, or 5 reasons not to move here. In fact, I did a really interesting experiment. One of the towns I lived in was called Santa Maria in California. So I did a video, 5 reasons to move to Santa Maria, did the thumbnail. The very next week, I did the same thing, but it was 5 reasons not to move to Santa Maria. same exact thumbnail, but one had a thumbs up, one had a thumbs down, right? The negative, the 5 reasons not to, had like 30 times as many comments. It had like at least 10 times as many views. I had a lot of people talking shit, like, why would you even say this? Like, you're a real estate, like, you shouldn't be talking bad about my town, da, da, da. But that video got me the most calls, right? Because people were like, I appreciate you being honest, right? Because agents are always like, you want to move here, you want to move there. So that's growth content. The 5 things, the local content. Think about what people would be searching. My video that got me the most leads and actually a client, like this one video made me $20,000 in commission, was 5 things to do in Pismo Beach, which was a local town. It's not even a real estate video, but what it did was it got someone that was traveling through the area to see my channel. And then they saw like, oh, this is a real estate channel. They were going to be moving to the area. And so what happened is they started watching my other videos. And this is the cool thing about YouTube is it's evergreen, like, you know. So I haven't posted on that channel in like 4 years, but I still get calls for leads for that channel, because like you post on Facebook, it's gone in like 2-3 days, right? But you post on YouTube, it just keeps growing and growing and growing. And so you do the growth to get eyeballs on your channel. You do the authority to build your authority. And then you add in your own personalized, you know, the things you're into, whatnot, so that people start to like you, right? And so what's cool about YouTube is I'm like, filibuster. I'm going on a tangent right now.
No,
people will call you and it's like they already know you. You're like a celebrity to them because they've already watched like 5 hours of your stuff on YouTube. And so when they call you, it's like, I want to work with you. They're not even interviewing other agents. And it's just like, it's an evergreen strategy. I would tie that into Facebook ads too. And I'd be happy to talk about my ad strategy, but really, I ran Facebook ads really heavily too.
Lead gen, you press the leads button, lead gen?
I did not do lead gen on Facebook. So I did something a little different, You want to talk about it?
Oh, hey, bro, I'm not trying to take your time, but you could definitely talk about it. Because I'm gonna create a gap here because you're the expert in this one. Well, I'm not trying to say too much stuff, but the reason why I asked him about the lead gen button is because, as you know, there's different formulas. You can do an engagement formula. You can press the awareness for retargeting, or just press that and then reach more people. Anyways, So there's a lot of methods, and then people follow the 3-2-2 framework, the 3 was it the 5 the 2-2-10 2-2-10. Anyways, there's a lot of frameworks out there. Go on ahead and handle your thing, Christian. I just wanted to try to paint that picture as far as what can work. And then I also wanted to say when Christian was talking about YouTube, Google 7-11-4 rule. So I love the way that you talked about that, because essentially that helps you establish brand presence. Before we move on to the ad part, so can you, I would love if you could touch about, because of course you'll see a lot of realtors doing like a lot of what is it, home photography things and showing the homes. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, man, those are good to show your clients, right? To like show them, hey, I'm going to be advertising. What I would do also is, this might be a little tricky, but you could put some money behind that and get some views on it, so that you can say, hey, you know, last home tour I did got 20,000 views on it. Like, do you want that for your marketing? Even though you paid for it, it's still getting eyeballs on the channel, right? I would use YouTube more for lead gen rather than like helping to close clients, but there's definitely strategies, like definitely something to be said for doing that. Those can also get you, if you do them right, they can get you views, right? If they're cool homes, if they're interesting, those would attract more of what I would call like a high intent client. So that's something I would look for with, for example, I mentioned the authority content. Nobody's watching like a market update video, right? Nobody's watching a market update video unless they're very interested in buying real estate, right? So this is where agents will struggle, and people will struggle, is they'll be like, hey, I only got 10, 20 views, 30 views on my video, and they feel like they suck because of that. But the thing is like, imagine you have 30 people sitting in a room in front of you and you're talking to them. Like, you would be stoked on that, right? Like that's freaking cool. So don't get discouraged by low view counts, especially early on. You got to wait for YouTube algorithm to pick up your channel. The other kind of like pro tip I would say on YouTube is understand how the algorithm works. What I see a lot of people do is they'll create a video and they'll post it on their Facebook page and they'll be like, hey, go watch my video, like, comment, subscribe. But you have to understand that when you do that, all your Facebook friends that aren't interested in purchasing real estate, they're going to go and watch that video and like it and support you, which is cool. Like, it feels good to get views. But what you're training YouTube to say, like, these are the type of people that I want you to show my videos to. And that's not the home buyers, right? So I wouldn't push my videos out to Facebook because I want YouTube to actually find people that are interested in purchasing real estate to show my videos to. Even if I have a lower view count, I want the right people to be viewing my videos, not just like random people, my grandma and whoever else, you know what I mean? So yeah. So that's like kind of an insider tip on that is like, I call them vanity views, but you can't deposit those at the bank, right? So
he
you gotta
said,
get the right
stop with
views.
the metric. And first of all, thank you for sharing that too. A lot of people do prioritize like the Facebook and things like that instead of YouTube, because
Yeah.
I love how you were pretty much explaining. Pretty much YouTube's like, I would say YouTube's like middle of funnel, because of intent.
Right.
And so, Google owns YouTube, and so
Yeah.
they're going to be searching for their thing. And if your video pop up, then all you got to do is, you can, especially if you can get some data, like their name, email, or whatever that looks like. You're right, you definitely get some leads from there. So now this is going to lead into ads. So what is I had it, oh my god, I had it down so perfect. You talked about running ads. So what would be the difference in timeline of organic if you just focus on organic versus running ads when it comes to that?
So for me, when I was running ads, it was more of a branding strategy, kind of more like Laurel's is like building up that trust and the liking. So this is what I would do for ads and we've talked high intent. We haven't really talked about what that means. So let me kind of break that down just real quick. The most low intent content you could do would be putting, like, I see down the street from my house, there's a real estate agent that has a billboard, right? It's gonna get a ton of eyeballs on it, right? Every car that drives by is gonna see that billboard. But the likelihood of somebody that is ready to buy a house, that wants to buy a house, seeing that, very, very small compared to how many people are driving by. So so someone who is seeing a video on your Facebook page that is maybe searching for real estate content, that's going to be a higher intent audience. Now, I would say for real estate, the highest intent audience is people that are watching market update videos. Why? Because market update videos are boring as hell and nobody cares about them unless they are buying or selling real estate, right? Like, probably agree with that, right? Like, nobody's going to watch you talk about numbers about the market, what's going on in the market. So this was my YouTube or my ad strategy. I would run market update videos every month. Every month I'd shoot a market update video. I would run that as a Facebook ad. And then what I would do, because what that would do is that would tell me who the high intent audience is. Then I would go through and do a retargeting campaign with my other videos on only people that watched 50% or more of my market update video. Why? Because I know they're a high intent client. They've watched 50% or more of a video that tells me they're high intent. Now I'm going to start hitting them with the retargeting. And the retargeting is cheap because you've got your audience dialed in. So this is what Laurel calls the invisible audience, right? Is we don't have their name and their email, but Facebook's got all that info and it's showing my videos. Now it's showing my buyer guides, my seller guides, my local knowledge guides, right? It's showing all of this to people that I already know just based on the nature of the content. I already know they're a high intent person. So that was basically my YouTube strategy, man, or my Facebook ad strategy. Retargeting after a very high intent, but low number of people, right? It's like a funnel, right? The funnel, low intent is at like the top of the funnel, but the further down you go, the less people you have, but the higher the intent's going to be. And so I would put those high intent videos first and then just retarget.
Woo-wee. So maybe just for clarity, I guess for anyone that may be running ads, so are you running, so let's say your high intent video be the video view campaign, right? Yeah. And then from there, your retargeting will be the lead campaign with
I
lead
would
magnet.
do video views, man, and I'd have call to actions on them.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. And
Whoa.
again, my Facebook ad strategy, because Facebook ads are so cheap, it was probably more branding, right? And then they start searching you
Oh,
other
wow.
places too. But I didn't do. It's really hard for me to have a clear understanding on like what's a good lead magnet for the real estate, because everybody
Yeah.
has the same thing. It's like, what can you really offer people that they're going to give you their email that they can't just find on Zillow or find somewhere else, right? Like a buyer's guide or a seller's guide, like you can just find those anywhere. And so, like, what's your home worth? Well, I'm just going to go on Zillow. Like, why would I give you my email address for that?
Yeah.
So that's what's kind of hard about the real estate industry in particular, is like, what is a good like lead magnet that I could give to them? I don't know. Like I said, what I would run, like it costs like $50 a month to do that strategy that I just told you.
Oh,
Right.
Lord.
So
Hey, man.
it's cheap.
Gosh, you didn't even have to do that to him, Christian.
But
$50
it's the thing.
for.
But here's the thing that's crazy about it. If you think about it, like, let's say it takes me even a year to get a client from that. So that's $600, but I just made a $10,000 commission check. So like, it's like a 15x on my money. It's like,
And by the way, you're
no-brainer.
really quick with math. Holy smokes! God, I had to
It might not
could
be
be
exactly.
5 seconds. God.
Let me bust out my calculator real quick. I'll do the math.
Yeah, he's like, man, you're really good.
16.6.
Dude, man, oh man, I hope, man, if you're in a real estate and you watch this, he really just say, man, that was a powerful strategy you just said.
Thank
So
you.
video views, top of funnel awareness, and then middle of funnel for retargeting. That's video views as well, but you're retargeting to 50%, maybe website, stuff like that.
Yeah. So then with the retargeting, you could do local area videos, right? That's going to get your personality out there. It's going to show them things. It's just going to get you in front of them. You could do listing videos, like you mentioned, the listing videos. So if they're seeing what you're doing for other clients, you could do video testimonials. So if they see like, hey, this person's doing the real deal. You could do general real estate knowledge, right? So you can hit them with all these different areas, and that retargeting is so cheap. So what I was doing, man, and I could have upped it too, is I would do on my market update videos, I'd do $2 a day for the first 2 weeks, and I'd do $1 a day for the last 2 weeks. So that's 15, that's like $30 there. And then I'd do like $2 a day for the retargeting. So it doesn't have to be expensive. It can be cheap, or you could just dump money on it too if you want to. I mean, you could really hit it hard if you want to, but
man, you really just blew my mind there. Like, oh man, I wish I had be a huge audience that was just into that, because that's really a game changer. And we said in the last episode, really it's just all about, some people just might not know you just exist.
yeah,
It could just be that. That was very, very powerful. Okay, so what are your thoughts when it comes to following up then, outside of just organic follow-up instead of with ads or retargeting?
Crucial, right? It's like, this is another thing that drives me crazy with real estate agents, talking about not acting as a business owner, more like just a commission, is like not knowing the numbers on this stuff. So I created a calculator that shows a client's lifetime value, right? So this calculator, what you do is you put in their age, you put in their purchase price, basically like their move up percentage. So like, let's just assume they're going to move every 5 years and they're going to buy a house that's 15% more expensive. So you put these numbers in, and it will tell you what your commission would be if you sold one house to them, or if you put follow-ups in place that got you every sale for the rest of your career, what that client's actually worth to you. So like off the top of my head, I remember I put in a client basically a $10,000 commission that's like in their early 30s. Well, if I got their deals for the rest of my career, that client would not just bring me in that 10,000, but they could bring me in like 180,000 over the next 25 years, right? And that's just a matter of staying in front of them. And this is a crazy stat, is that it's 88% of home buyers or sellers say they would work with their agent again, but only 22% actually do. And my thinking is that that's just a lack of follow-up, right? And the problem is that people, it's not like a different maybe industry where people buy once a month or twice a year or something like that, it's like I got 5 years before the next purchase. And so the follow-up stuff kind of, you're like, I'll do it later. But that turns into a week, turns into a month, turns into 2 years, right? And people never follow up with their people. And so you mentioned go high level. It's like, man, just set up a campaign. I mean, think about this. If you want to email them once a week, you do market update. You could do one of your YouTube videos. You could do a quarterly, like time to change your air filters, like, time to whatever, reseal your concrete or whatever. You just set that up in high level, and then you're good. Or just every week, if you do a YouTube video every week, blast them out to the list, right? You just stay in front of them.
Oh my God. The reason why I was shaking my head, having all this character, bro, you just gave, somebody said free game for, who said that? Hey, I'm sorry guys, if you're in here, I don't know who said that. Was that you, Christian? You typed that? Free game for real?
No, maybe I should. I'll gas myself up in the video.
Dude, man. Oh man, you didn't even have to say all that. That was some, I didn't even think, it was like, what's up, Elijah? What's going on? And this also goes to you, Elijah. Like, if you're watching, it's the same thing. Even in photography, everything is like really what Christian said is just attention, eyeballs, following up. And he said it really best. Sometimes, if you're going on a week by week basis, month by month, etc. It may take a year for a person to come back to you, 2, 3, whatever. But as long as you're following up, as Christian said, you can increase your lifetime value or your average order value with a customer, client, prospect, Holy smoke. I didn't even expect you to drop them kind of gems.
And that's the thing with it too, man, is like getting the lead is the most expensive part, the most time consuming, right? So it's like, why not? Yes, it takes a lot of time to set up a good drip campaign that's going to, but you spend 20 hours on it, you never have to worry about it again, right? So it's like, I don't know. That's where I'm like, be a business owner. Think about this stuff rather than just a person just chasing sales all the time. Like, think about ways to just stack up that business.
Right.
That's my thoughts on it.
No, that was that's why I was like, oh man, like the honest and that principle you just said, and then you just said another, man, you giving so much value. He said drip campaign, right? So especially that I'm using go high level. And my fault is kind of going off of, I don't know if it's still on real estate or not, but something I just learned is just by having separate pipelines for each of your lead magnets, and then then you have a main campaign, like your email drip. So let's say you got like 3 lead magnets. Okay, you have a pipeline. You're going to follow up them for every day for let's say 6 to 7 days. If no one takes action on your thing, then you move them over with a tag and put them into the main email drip or your main campaign.
Yeah.
And then if that's, like you said, 1 YouTube video a week or whatever it looks like, man, you're staying top of mind because the actual numbers, I love numbers too. So I was like, yes, he loves numbers. We got to actually think how many people are ready to buy. And I don't know if this is with real estate, but 2 to 3% of people are ready to buy right now. And then the question is, well, what are we doing with the 97 to 98% of people?
Yeah.
Well, that's going to require some follow-up. And the cool thing is that you mentioned before, it's another book you can check out. I don't know if you read it. It's called The Go Giver.
I haven't. I've heard of it though.
Yeah, it's like only 81 pages. And he was talking about the reason why you should give. And it's not necessarily just to give in order to keep track, but by doing and implementing these strategies that you're saying, it helps you stay top of mind. And let's say even if a person doesn't buy from you, because you're staying top of mind and because I was reading the comment there, it says realtors are really broke. Title is kind of funny. It's just more like a piece of bait. That's all it was. Realtors are really broke. And it's just something just to create curiosity to see if someone wants to click. That's all that was.
It's probably true though.
Yes. Hey, it's, and the thing is, I'm trying to really explain. Anyways, going back to the thing I was saying, even if the person necessarily doesn't buy from you, you can stay top of mind, and they may refer you to someone that is in the market for whatever that you got going on. So, and And the way they look at it is like, oh man, like he gives so much value. I really like Christian said, the brand is dope. I really love the messaging. Shoot, let me just refer whoever to this other person. And then if you got YouTube content going evergreen and it's addressing FAQs, oh man, like,
Yeah.
oh man,
Yeah,
you're
it's,
doing well.
you know, they all work together too. So it's all, I like that you're using high level. So here's another thing I thought of too, is let's say you've got like a year-long campaign built out. You know, not everybody's checking their email all the time, and we can see the open rates and whatnot. But two little things here is you could put in like every third month, you could do an internal notification that sends you a text message that says, hey, call this person, right? And just check in with them, right? And then you call me. It could be whatever, man. You could be like, hey, you know, I was driving past your house the other day. I thought about you. I just want to see how you're doing, right? And you can make it so high level will text you and say, hey, check in with Morris, you know, whatever. And then you don't even have to think about it, right? It's just like automatic. It's a task. Here's a little tip I learned, man. Do you know who Alex Becker is? Have you ever heard of him?
Actually, yes. I'm super bad with names, but yes, I do know Alex Becker. Or I don't know. You get it. You get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I started listening to him recently. Interesting guy. Kind of a weirdo, but I was watching one of his things he's talking about. This is interesting because open rates are so important for like Gmail and all these things. Is he says he would get people, maybe this isn't for past clients, but maybe people on like a lead magnet, is one of the strategies that I would do with the lead magnet is when they go to the page, it's not a download right there. The download is within an email that gets sent to them. And the reason I did that is because then they have to go and check that email and click a link, which is going to jump my reputation score up in Gmail or whatever, right? Because it's seeing, hey, they actually open, they click the link. So that's the first thing. But what he said is he would send a series of 3 emails. And if they don't open the first 2 emails, he drops them off the list. And that keeps his open rate high. That way his sender reputation stays high. And that will keep his emails from going to spam. So he'll send the first one. If they don't open it within like a day, he'll send like, hey, I saw you missed the first email. Here's the value, right? And if they don't open that second one, they're done. They're off the list. Just something to consider.
Man, Christian, man, this got beyond real estate. But well, real estate agents can still use go high level and stuff. Would that still apply? Or
Oh
yeah. Oh shoot.
Yeah.
Well, he just told you how to warm up your email list, like your email sequence, because what happens is it does go to spam and people have to like acknowledge or respond to it so it can increase your email reputation. Oh man, you didn't even have to give that sauce, man.
There you go. I see a comment there about Airbnbs.
Oh yes. What do you think?
So I'm curious if that person's still on, if they can expand on the question. Airbnb is interesting, man. It went kind of crazy during COVID, and then a lot of people that got into it, got in a lot of trouble. Trouble meaning financially, because people over leveraged because it turned into this super hot thing during COVID, but then it slowed down. So this isn't like any financial advice on this. It's just personal opinions. I think if you're going to do Airbnbs, it's got to be like in a hot like vacation area, but there's going to be tons of those around, right? But also like unique properties. So I read this thread once on Twitter about this guy that bought a 1900s train car, and they fully refurbished it like true to like early 1900s, and they built like a platform station around it, right? So it's like a destination. So people like want to go to that Airbnb. It's not just like a condo rented out in the city. So I don't know, man. Yeah. So man, here's the thing with real estate. And this is what again, like going back to, I don't know how long you've been on, but going back to like my strategy with helping agents get into real estate investing is there's so many different ways to go about it, right? Like long-term rentals. Yeah. Like great option. Another thing that's really great is like medium term. So for traveling nurses, for example, if you get an Airbnb in an area that has a hospital, a lot of times there's traveling nurses. They make great money, but they come in, they live there for like 6 months. They're going to be good tenants. They're always working. They're usually probably people that respect the properties, right? And then they're gone, right? Another one that's crazy. I don't know how you get into this, but my buddy turned me onto this. Is you get in with the insurance companies. And so when someone's like house burns down, for example, the insurance company will put them up in a rental property for a certain amount of time, and they'll pay like way over market rate for that like short period of time while that person gets a new house or whatever. So they're paying like 2-3 times market rate. I don't know. Again, I don't know how you get in with the insurance company to do that, but that's a strategy. The other one, this is a big one too, is we have an aging population, right? People that are getting older and older. Converting homes into like ADA compliant to house like in-home nursing care is going to be huge, because those are like $2,000-$3,000 a bed. So you get a 3-bedroom with 2 beds in there. You know, you do the math. Let's say it's $2,000 each. You got 2 beds, $2,000 each. That's $4,000 per room. That's $12,000 a month on that, right? Now you're going to have costs, of course, but that can turn a upside down rental into like a $30,000 a month income by doing something like that. So,
hey man,
I hope that answered the question.
Hey, Christian is dropping all the sauce. Oh, and just to answer your early question with what platform are y'all using to follow up? That is Go High Level. Yep. Go High Level for that. What was the other one? Like having a home. Oh, nice. Okay, I thought I saw something. Oh, nice. Eventbrite does that with marketing emails. Yep. That's everything, man. I would definitely need to come out there and have a conversation with you. And that's really. Is there anything, any tips, any things maybe that you want to leave for realtors, or maybe someone that is looking to get their finances and things in order, Christian?
Yeah, man. I mean, if anybody wants to reach out to me and just have a conversation, it's really about first just understanding the fundamentals, understanding how to deal with the swings in the business. So I already said, you know, people want all this like advanced stuff. Really what it all comes down to is pay yourself first, right? You've got to be putting, doesn't matter what industry, what job you're in, you've always got to be putting something towards your future. All right. So whether it's $10 on a check or $100, what you'll find is it might seem like it's not possible if you're living paycheck to paycheck, but it really is. And you'll get used to it so fast, you won't even notice the money's gone. Right. So I would say that is get that stuff in order, start paying attention to your finances. When I was first trying to get my finances under control, man, I looked at my checking account every single day. I logged all my receipts, and then I started noticing patterns, right? Like I had an addiction to spending money, and even if it was $5 a day, right? I had this addiction to spending money. And so I learned, I developed a strategy to break that addiction. I got that under control. So, you know, I'm long-winded in my answers. Basically, get your fundamentals in place, man. Get your fundamentals in place, and then once you're in a position where you've got some breathing room, and you want to talk about growing that money and maybe turning that into real estate investments or other sort of investments, we can have a conversation and talk about growing that money for you.
Talk to the man. We got another question right there, Christian.
Are you asking as far as workflow with like Go High Level, or what's that question mean? I use ChatGPT a lot, by the way. Yeah.
Man, I need to really start digging in a lot more. I had a moment to where I was like, I don't think this makes me legit if I'm using it for copywriting.
Don't use it for copywriting.
Man, I was like, dude. And I had got into and I thank you for saying that. I had got into a whole, I was like, nah, I'm gonna have to read more books so I can really understand what I'm saying and stuff like that. This person says, sure. Do you guys use ChatGPT to stay up to date or help workflow? Yeah, can you clarify what you mean by that, please? Elijah, do you guys use ChatGPT to stay up to date or help workflow?
So I mean, to touch on what you're saying is like, I don't use it for copywriting. I use it for like ideation and helping.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll use it to clarify. Like I'll have kind of an idea, but I always rewrite. And I don't know if you see this on your page, but I just see probably like, feels like 90% of what I see now is just like clearly ChatGPT written. It's got its own language. It's it's so boring. I think, personal opinion, I think it's like a pendulum, right? I think it's swung so hard to people being like, AI is so awesome. Like, I got to use AI for everything. I think it's going to swing back hard the other way, and people are going to get like frustrated and sick of it. And that human connection is going to be like what people really are like thirsting for. That's my personal opinion. But
I think your opinion is a fact. I know it's a fact because of yeah, okay, I'll put some expertise in the thing. Yeah, because of what happened. It was actually, we were talking about this in the last live, but you're right. People are craving that human and personal connection when it comes to like faceless. What is that faceless content versus, stuff going on now. Uh, Especially in the photography world, because I was doing a lot of photography. Even when you see people using AI generated images versus real pictures.
yeah,
It's just, that's where it's going. I do believe in what you're saying when it comes to the copywriting. Yeah, you do see it a lot. But yeah, you can tell the impact is not the same. There we go. I'm
right.
looking for the words. The impacts aren't the same. You can even tell like when people are using it. Let's say when they're speaking, it's like it just lacks emotion.
Yeah.
It lacks emotion, and as pretty much you already know, that's the thing that really, actually the major thing that drives sales is emotion. A
Yeah.
person that I'm even understanding emotion a lot more, because I used to be a very logic based. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
transitioning out of that. Like, you have to show me numbers, show me the facts, show me your numbers, right? What is it saying? Men lie, women lie, numbers don't. So but now I'm shifting more over to something, as you already know, you took like Laurel's thing, some aspirational. Okay, let me get more into storytelling. All right, let me get more into, some actionable takes, stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I do like what you're saying. I believe when she talks about to stay up to date or help workflows, I think that's a general term. That just sounds some like a general term. But at the end of the day, I agree with Christian. It's just more for ideation and not. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. The other thing, if you're saying like up to date also on like facts and figures and stuff, you always have to fact check it, because I've like asked stuff and asked for links, and it'll give me links that like do not correlate at all with what it's telling me. Like, it'll take you to random websites, links that aren't even real. And then you're like, hey, ChatGPT, this link didn't work, or like this is a made up stat, and it's like, oh yeah, I'm sorry, I'll try not to do that in the future. And you're like, son of a bitch, good thing I didn't use that on like a research paper or something crazy,
Oh
or
man.
like make me look like a fool putting this out. But yeah.
Hey, I'm glad we're actually talking about some AI. What are your thoughts? Let's say I'm gonna bring it back to this. I know I was about to end it, but now I'm just very curious about this. What are your thoughts when it comes to AI and managing finances for realtors?
Um, so AI is not good with numbers. This is kind of
Really?
weird. So this is something I learned. I'll kind of give you the backstory. I was writing what was I writing? I was writing, I think it was SEO for my website, and it had to be under a certain amount of characters, right? And so I said, hey, like do this for me and make it under whatever it was, 150 characters. And it spit something out, and I was like, that's clearly more than 150 characters. So I pulled it into Google Docs, and I did the word count, and it was like way off, right? And I was like, hey, this isn't right. Like, do it again. And I asked it to do it like 4 or 5 times. And this is something, I mean, you could type it in and ask, because I don't remember the specifics. But basically, the way AI works, and they're called LLMs, large language models, is they try to predict what they think the next word should be. And so AI is very bad at counting and like math and like that sort of thing. So it basically told me like, I don't understand why, because it actually like broke down the numbers, like it spaced out all the letters, and it still couldn't understand how to count the amount of words or the amount of letters
Yeah.
or characters. And it basically just said that like, hey, the way AI works, or LLMs in particular, cannot count accurately. So it said always use like a word counter, like in Google Docs, if you want that sort of thing. So I
Yeah.
say all that to say, I don't know. I mean, General plans, like probably okay for that sort of thing. Like, hey, how much should I save? Or like, I've got like this much to spend, how should I break it up? But always double check the numbers on anything like AI. Anytime you're trying to like make a fact-based decision using AI, just always double check it. Be smart about it. Because it's weird. And again, I don't know the specific, like the intricacies of AI a whole lot. That's the word I was trying to say earlier, by the way, intricacies. I don't know the intricacies, but it explained it all for me, like why it can't count numbers correctly. But take that for what it's worth.
Okay, so now we got something. Okay, I see another question for you, Christian. So
Yeah.
okay, what is a fully furnished? Okay, so I think this is, I don't know if you're this is going into property management. What's the field you're I'm trying to piece it together because it's like space out here. Do you
So
guys
sorry.
okay, do you
Yeah, I mean, starter point to how to get into the next steps in a field I'm looking into.
Oh, you see that?
Yeah.
Oh, you're in?
Well, I'm on Facebook too. So
Okay, perfect.
yeah, I think it's great for that sort of stuff. It's good for brainstorming. That's what I use it for. It's good for, you have to be very specific. So the thing that I've kind of come up with is like, I treat AI like it's the smartest person and the dumbest person I've ever talked to at the same time. Because it's super smart. It could do like a lot for you, but you also have to like spell everything out for it. You have to be very specific. It'll try to go off on its own little tangents because it's trained to try to do certain things. That's why, like, for example, I was using it to write and I was like, do not use an M dash, those long dashes. That's how you can tell everything's AI now. They got the M dash. It could not do an M dash. And I asked it again, I'm like, why can't you do this? And it's like, I am trained very specifically on these sort of models. And so that's just like how it's built. So I say that to say, yeah, use AI to research, use ChatGPT or whatever to research. It's great for like bouncing ideas off of, for like, give me your input on this. So like property management, if you're looking at that, like, what are the pros and cons? Like, what do people like about being property managers? What do they not like about it? It's going to be like really good for that sort of stuff too, to kind of give you good ideas. But the key is to know how to ask questions. You gotta ask the right questions for them.
Let me dive into that. That's something that even you took the challenge. Like Myron Golden said the same thing.
Yep.
Asking the right question. So what is asking the right question? What does that look like?
That's a hard question. That's a great question. That's really tough. So there's actually, it's not really taught anymore, but classical learning teaches kind of like early philosophers taught how to ask the right questions, how to get to like the root. So there's a way of asking questions called first principles, where you basically go to like the root of any question. This is how Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk built their companies, by the way, is by using what's called first principles. So
really,
basically, this is how first principles work. Like, let's say we had an apple tree, and people were like, "Oh, like that's an awesome apple, right? Like it's delicious. It's a very ripe apple." So like most people would like look at the apple, but what first principles do is it says like, hey, the apple is connected to the branch is connected to the tree is connected to the roots, and the roots are like embedded in soil. So let's look at the soil first, because if the soil's bad, then everything downstream from the soil is going to be bad. So that's like, it's kind of a broad overview of how first principles work, but it takes like a training to learn how to ask those questions that way. And I think this is actually something that kind of irks me in the financial space is the financial space is like very convoluted and almost like elitist and show like, we know what to do best with your money, so trust us with your money. Let me give you a stat. 92% of professional money managers do not beat the general market. So if you just put your money in an S&P linked fund, might be a little bit too technical, but when people say the market's up or the market's down, what they're talking about is the S&P 500. So if you put your money in the S&P 500 fund, you would beat 92% of professional money managers, people that spend 40, 60 hours a week managing money, looking at all the spreadsheets and all this. You would beat 92% of them. And so I say that to say this is that one of the things that irks me in the financial space is that people don't know what they don't know. And so kind of the wool is able to be pulled over their eyes, right? And so sometimes it's hard to know what the right questions are if you don't have like a base level of knowledge about what you're talking about, because you don't know what questions to ask until you start really diving in. And so to get to your question, that's what I would say is you kind of have a base level of knowledge, and then you can start kind of diving deeper and peeling back the onion from there.
Oh, I love that analogy. First, and
What
it
would
makes
you
sense.
think?
First,
I want to flip that question back on you. I want
Oh,
to flip
man.
that question back on you and see what you think.
As far as how do you ask the right question, I'll honestly, what I do is I don't even know if I even ask the right questions, but I would say really just being. This is probably not going to make sense but I would say just being bold, and everything comes down to knowing. Plus the simple. I think everything comes down to having actually principles, knowing the 5 questions. Okay, what, why, when, where, how. And even this is something I learned from one of my coaches is like even when you're doing like sales calls, you don't like the person that says less is just more of asking, well, why do you think that?
Yeah.
Right. Because everything when it comes to marketing, I have to lay everything to marketing and stuff like that. But when it comes down to marketing in the simplest forms that I believe is just that, just like Myron Golden. Remember, Myron Golden talks about really 2 ways: there's belief and there's doubt.
Yeah.
Well, in order for someone to believe or invest into your mechanism, right, they have pretty much not doubt it, or you have to figure out what kind of baggage does this person have. That's the whole point of a qualification
Right.
or a discovery call, because you don't want to take someone on as a client, customer, or whatever, and then they have this baggage, because then what happens is it's like, well, shoot, I invested in a Christian, but I knew this wasn't going to work. Well, I already had doubt that your thing wasn't going to work, or I already had this bad trauma, or I didn't learn about when it comes to money, stuff like that. So that's the whole point of like putting out short form and long form content, is to educate, really to get people to align with your beliefs and to educate them in your frameworks, which they call pre-selling. That way, when it's time to make that investment, X amount of money, that they're like more likely to say yes to that. So the question comes down to really, I'm talking kind of like it's like parables, but it kind of goes into like, well, what does someone already know? And then what do they need to know in order for you to actually help them out?
Yeah.
That's kind of where I would go. But it just starts with, okay, well, why? And then you ask why again. And then there's just like 4 to 5 levels of why that you can go deep.
Yep.
Or 4 to 5 level. We're really just asking why. Well, why is now a good time? Why is this a good fit for you? What would your future look like if you did have this opportunity, or if you would say yes? So I think it's just asking why, what, when is a good time for you? Well, it's just like stuff like that. And but diving into the person's self to understand where they're coming from, because one of the biggest principles and the most universal language that everyone on the planet feels, again, is just misunderstood.
Right.
So if we can understand whatever, it doesn't necessarily really matter. It could be non-living or living, but we do our best to understand what that is. Then I believe we can then ask the right question, which is diving into those 4 or 5 layers of whys or whatever W.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was good.
Yeah, no, I love it. I agree, man. It's I was just talking about this earlier with the guy I was doing my podcast earlier, and his script, because he's a real estate agent, his script is when he asks a question, he validates whatever they say, he asks for clarity, and then he'll ask follow-up questions. But we're talking about just diving deeper, because he does cold calls, and when you talk to people especially when they're new and they've got that resistance up, a lot of times it's like surface level answers. And so you have to peel that onion back and get a little bit deeper with them. One thing that I heard recently, and I haven't really implemented it, but is when you're challenging someone's belief, instead of asking why, ask like, what makes you think this? Or, what's your reasoning behind that? Because why, and I don't know if I agree with this, so I'm just throwing this out there. This is what I read recently, was why can almost have like a confrontational feeling to it. Like when we're growing up, like, why'd you do that? Why, so asking like, what makes you say this instead of like, why is this important to you? Or, I don't know if why is this important to you is confrontational. I think it really depends on the answer, but I guess what I'm getting at is that why can seem, especially if we're trying to challenge somebody or something somebody said, why might sound